public speaking. I love, oh, thank God I did that because I
Thank God you
remember.
said recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want me. They're like, you're going to get into this and you're going to forget to record.
Oh my God. So yeah, so I enjoy talking to people. I love hosting events. I love coaching. I love mentoring. And I love Jesus. I kind of emphasize that. I think I always say that my journey is marked by the love for people. And I truly love people. This is not a gimmick or a professional statement. I love people, my deep connection with God and my faith, and my commitment to spreading positivity wherever I go. I always tell non-Nigerians the meaning of my name, Omotayo. It says child brings joy. And I try as much as possible that to leave my name, everywhere, every day of my life. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Awesome. I feel like we should have coordinated outfit because I was thinking to myself, maybe I should wear Ankara. And I'm like, yeah, don't do that. And here you are in Nigeria, and I'm like,
I
no.
know, but I do have a tan top. If it's, I wanted to do a blend of both.
Awesome. I like how you kind of like walked through your career journey, because there's no how I could have imagined that you've been in, I don't know, you're in your fourth
I know.
industry.
I know.
And that's not something that is common. Like pivoting careers became a thing literally during the pandemic. Prior to that, if you studied engineering, you're an engineer, right? We were not willing to step out of our comfort zone, but then to see someone who has done it, and not just done it once, done it 4 times, and is
Crazy.
thriving at it is I feel like you're going to come back to come and tell us that story. You have to tell us how that journey went and your key takeaways from that journey. So I'm going to start that maybe like for season 2. You'll come back to start it again to tell us, you know what, this pivoting journey, how did you do it?
Very interesting.
But in the to come back to the topic of today, where the goal is we're communicating our values. And whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, we do it every day. We're communicating our values to our colleagues, to our kids, whether it's something that we know that we're doing or not. And in this case, we're coming back into our careers to say that we know that effective communication in teams is key, right? There's no truly successful team without effective communication. But now we bring it back to an individual level. I am an individual. I am in a team of 10 persons, 20 persons. For the likes of you that work in TB, your team pretty much spans the globe sometimes, depending on the project. Now, how do I stand out? How do I shine? How do I leverage, even though I'm in this team and I'm working together for one common good, how do I still shine? So that brings us into our very first question for today. What exactly is effective communication based off of your experience? What exactly is that? And then when it comes to developing that skill, right, how do you think it adds to a person's value?
Okay. So this is very, very important. So first of all, let me get something off the way, this is a disclaimer. I know you mentioned TD.
Yeah.
Please note that all opinions and
personal
experiences shared during this chat is my own and my own only, and do not represent the views or positions of my employer T. The insights and advice are based on my personal experiences. So I needed to get that off the way. This is Tayo speaking. So effective communication, I cannot overemphasize it. It is so key in everything that we do, be it as a professional, be it as an entrepreneur, be it as a parent, every aspect of our lives. So I think the topic, starting this Fireside series with this topic, is like building the right foundation. So I applaud you. So what is effective communication? It is, from my experience, is not about speaking big grammar or being, well, eloquency is good. You have to be able to speak to an extent, but it doesn't have to be speaking with an accent or anything. It is basically the ability to convey information to people efficiently, clearly, ensuring that the message you're trying to pass across is understood. As simple as that. You just need to ensure that whatever you're speaking out, the person you're speaking to or communicating with actually gets they get the intent. It's not about you saying something and expecting the same, like they should get it, you know. It is you speaking to them or communicating with them and they actually get the intent, they get the context, they get the emotion. And that's why, you know, when people talk about communication, it's not just about verbal communication or written communication. Even the way our body language, the way, that's why I always tell my team members, please turn on your camera. It's so hard, especially when you're talking to people that are developers, but I try. Put on your camera because when you speak to someone, you need to see everything they're using to communicate. So that way you are able to understand exactly what information they are passing across to you. So I said it has to be clear. So he's not speaking big grammar or big English or speaking like very big jargons. No, it has to be clear. It has to be concise. You have to even pay attention to the person you're speaking to, because sometimes, yeah, it might be a dialogue. So you're speaking, you're communicating, you want to hear them back. It's not that you're just speaking and you are the all and be all and you just want to, yeah. So he has to have those components. He has to be clear. You have to listen. You have to have empathy. You have to, even the nonverbal one, you know, the way, you know, just like saying, Bisola, thank you for having me here. And I'm like this. I'm not sure that I'm really thankful. Maybe I'm supposed to be sleeping somewhere. But I was like, oh, Bisola, thank you very much for having me here. It shows that I'm really excited to be here. So we have to just think about everything. So that's what, you know, covers, that's what, you know, effective communication is all about. So your question is, how does developing this skill add to my personal value? If I can't communicate to you what I'm bringing to the table, how are you going to be inside of me to know it? No, because sometimes, you know, especially immigrants from Africa, you know, some from, you know, like I'm sure of Africa because I'm from Africa. We were raised to, you know, do your work and face your work. You know, when you go around telling people about the the awesomeness of your work and what you're doing, it kind of is seen as bragging. That's how we're raised, most of us anyway.
Yes.
I'm not going to say all of us because some people do have that confidence from home. But you have to leave all that, unlearn all that, and come to a place where once you're doing the work. So the first thing is doing excellent work. You can't compromise on that. But once you're doing the excellent work, we're not going to come to your space to figure out how excellent the work is. You have to be able to tell people about it. So that is why it's important, you know, you have to understand what that effective communication, or even if by meeting people, by, you know, typing about your work on LinkedIn or social media, anyone of your choice, you have to be able to effectively communicate to your audience, whoever the audience is, what exactly you are doing, what awesomeness, what excellent work you're doing. And it's so critical, especially in this part of the world where promotion is not given to you by tenure. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day. They said capitalism does not reward tenure. And that's the reality. Especially in North America. I don't know, maybe in Nigeria, they look at someone and say, you've been there for 5 years. But here, they will just assume you're content. You're doing excellent work, but you're content. So you need to verbally or anyhow you can sell yourself, sell your value, communicate your values to the stakeholders that really need to know so that you can advance, you know, you can grow in any space that you belong to. I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Something that you said, and I think it's something that I tend to say a lot as well, but maybe not the same way. I would say, and you just said it, your job is to make sure that you're hearing and you're listening to what's being said, but more importantly, what's not being said. Because that's how you thrive as stakeholder management. In my experience, if you want to thrive as stakeholder management, you need to be able to hear beyond what's being said, right? And I like that. I like the fact that in building, I knew someone was going to catch that. Capitalism does not reward tenure. Wake up, wake up quickly, and loud yourself, brag about your work, because that's how persons are going to see. But yeah, communicating our value goes beyond even just saying things and hearing things and listening. You kind of like need to hear what's not being said as well. So hopefully that's something somebody takes to work on Monday morning saying, I think I've only been listening to what's being said. I need to start to pay attention to what's not being said, but people are actually saying, right? And hopefully it helps you get better as well. So now we'll bring it back to our current work environment, right? Prior to COVID, literally everyone saw you. There was only, you couldn't hide for too long, especially if you were doing great work. You couldn't hide for too long. And that's I think in those days, well, not so long ago, but they would say that the loudest people are the people that are being seen. They are the ones that are getting the promotion because everyone was physically seeing them and they were loud. And then remote work became a thing. And at that point, well, the value of your work now becomes a lot more evident because you can't hide under just being loud anymore. So now that we're now in a time where hybrid is now a thing, right? Some of us are fortunate enough to still work fully remote, but most people that I know work hybrid, right? It's the new normal. In your own opinion and based off of your experience, what are some best practices for ensuring clear and effective communication, especially amongst your team members?
Yeah, so I'm living this right now, so I can tell you from my experience. And it's interesting because, I'm grateful that I actually worked I worked before pandemic. So you know how they say before Christ and after Christ. So I before pandemic,
And
BP,
after pandemic.
and after, because you tend to appreciate some things, So back to your question. So what I live right now is one of the things that is very critical, like for me as a leader in my team, is having regular check-ins. So I know BP before pandemic, your manager will probably set a meeting that it's beyond that. You can't wait again. No. No, you can't. You have to have something on calendar for people, stakeholders, people that matter to your development. If it's your people manager, your stakeholders, for those of us that are in projects, we don't necessarily work with our managers. So we have stakeholders that are lying everywhere. You don't want to assume that they know the excellent work you're doing. No, you want to block their calendar, then you just make it recurrent. And if there's no need that week or that bi-weekly, then you just send a note and say, oh, I don't think I have much to talk about this week. Let's just reconvey, 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. But you have something going, because when life is busy, we tend to forget this things that are very, very important to us and our career. So regular check-ins, one-on-ones is very important. And if you're lucky to be in an agile environment like I work, automatically one of our ceremonies is daily stand-up, daily huddle. And so whether you like it or not, you are in the face of your team members and they're in your face. And you want to ask the question, yeah, what did you do towards our goal yesterday? What are you working on today? And do you have any blockers and impediments? Well, I'm being a scrum master here, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
But basically, you have to be in touch with the people that matter to your growth in the organization. So that's very key. I can't even overemphasize that. Another thing that I would say is make use of technology. So I don't know, in some organizations like mine, we have the Microsoft 365 suite. And so it comes with Yammer, that's the social media, internet, like workspace social media. We also have Teams chat, you want to be that person if you have that kind of relationship with people. Because I always say that Teams chat is kind of like getting into people's DMs. So you don't want to reach out to a leader via teacher. No, that's not professional. But if it's someone that have recurring relationship with in the workspace, sometimes send them a Teams chat, Or, I know I do have, so I have a mentorship circle group that I belong to in my organization, and the leader in that group, she does something that is so really, is so good. I don't know where she got it from, but she's very experienced. So she formed a group of us, like in a group. And so she every morning, I don't know how she does it. She just drops something, hey, good day to be alive. So she's always top in mind for me. Like, I know what she does in the bank. If I need anything in our space of the bank, I know to reach out to her. I never forget her because she will use greeting to finish you. Let me go to my Nigerian. Yeah. So she's always top in mind. So take advantage of technology, don't be shy away from it. For the Yama Viva Engage that we have on Office 365, post some of the achievements that your team is, some of the achievements from your team. Let people, if you're working in a big environment, don't keep your achievements to yourself or your team, You want to spread the word. Let people know within your organization, because at the end of the day, whatever product or anything you're delivering, the ultimate goal is for your customer, like the organization's customer. So people want to know how your space is adding value to the ultimate goal. So use it. Don't shy away from it. I tell people all the time, don't shy away from it. Also, when it comes to communicating your values, take advantage of setting, like, having clear documentation. So for example, one thing I do is when I attend meetings, not my daily ceremonies or anything, meetings, stakeholder meetings or anything, I want to be sure that what I heard is what you're saying. So I go back to my desk right away. I say, hey, Abisola, that was it was so nice, I could just compliment. I always like to start with, some kind of compliment. That it was lovely spending time with you to whatever we're talking about. Just so that I can be clear, these are the actions from the meeting.
Yes.
Because sometimes you are hearing what they're not saying, or you want to be sure that what they're saying is what you're hearing. So I just put like bullet point, nothing too serious, not meeting, because we, those of us in Agile, we keep saying that no, we don't want all those documentations, not meeting notes or meeting what they call it, minutes. Nope.
Yes.
But more like bullet points on what you believe you had. So that way, the person on the other side would correct you or applaud you or give you thumbs up that all what you heard is what he was saying. So how effective can that communication be? That's perfect. So your next steps, everyone is clear on next step and the expectations from next step. So I do that a lot, and it's very, very beneficial for me. So one thing I also do, like, for example, when it comes to like career objectives and performance management and all that, the organization there will be set up. I don't know, it happens differently it's not the same in different organizations. However, in my organization, we have like objectives set for like your class of roles. However, as an individual working in a team, you need to understand how that cascaded objective, how it applies to you and the work that you're doing, your space. So don't wait till the end of the fiscal year when you are having performance appraisal and your manager is telling you that they are giving you met expectation, you wanted to be promoted, to actually set clear expectations. So one of the things I do personally is when they set out those objectives, I have one of the one-on-ones that I already have on calendar. I would just say, oh, Tayo, let's say my manager's name is Tayo. Let's look at this objective set by our organization. How does it, what does success look like for me at the end of the fiscal year from your POV? So that way, my girl, we set out clear expectations. Nothing is vague, no ambiguity. We're not saying 90% when we can't even quantify what they're talking about in my team because projects are different. So we want to set clear expectations from all parties. So this is just an example that clearly shows what I'm talking about, but we can use the same ideology in different spaces, so that people know what they expect from you. You're not assuming, they know exactly what they expect from you. So that way, at the end of the day, you can measure what you're delivering and then everybody's okay. You know what I mean? So we need to set clear expectation from all parties. One thing that I kind of emphasize too is, being adaptable is one of those attributes. Those what they call them now. Yeah, well, let me just use that because the name fails me now. One of capabilities that we need to hone on as new generation working class, like corporates or even entrepreneurs. You don't want to be fixing your ways. No one likes it. I mean, that's why all organizations are moving to agile, most organizations. You want to be that person that, yeah, I've had that conversation with my manager in the beginning of the year, but something happens along the line. I want to be ready to adapt to whatever the change is.
Yeah.
Right away, so that, and then quickly realign expectations, so you're not, everything is not set. We're not fixing or setting our ways because no one likes that. You can't even succeed in the workspace anymore if you're not adaptable. That's why everyone, when you see people on LinkedIn, they say very adaptable. It's one of those things that is like trendy now. You must actually be adaptable. It's not for you to just use. So I think I've spoken, a lot. I don't want to take away from the other questions. So I hope with these few points of mine.
Thank you. There's something that you said, and I don't even realize, I don't think you realize that you said it. You said a statement. You said you can't build your career or base your career growth on assumptions.
Ooh, that's
You
powerful.
can't
I didn't
do
even know I
that.
said that.
Yeah, don't worry. That's why I'm the listener, so that I can hear those things that you're saying that we don't even realize that you're saying. You can't, and that resonated a lot with me. I can't run based off of assumptions. I can't assume that I'm doing well. I have to know. And how do I know? Is that the things that you later said, what are my career objectives, right? What are the KPIs that have been set for my team? And how do I play a role? What role do I play in, in ensuring that those KPIs are met or even or better still exceeded? And then you want to make sure that those expectations are clear. Another thing that you said is about one of the leaders that you said that would always, like, literally just make sure that she is top of mind for you. And I'm like, as a leader, I'm still doing that. Like, why would I be doing that? But it's almost like you can't stop communicating your value, right? You can't, there's no end to this. That it's a never ending process in whatever phase, like beyond your career and all. Communicating your value is a never ending process. So thank you for that. And I'll take a quick break and we'll go into Slido. Somebody has a question. So persons, I did put the Slido link in the chat. If you have a question, please just send it to us. That way it keeps you anonymous, and then you can ask us whatever you would like to ask us. That's how this series would go, is all questions are anonymous, and would as best as possible try to get to them as we walk through. So this person asked, how do you communicate your value in a small team that does not have upward mobility? Like I'm feeling this person right now. So Tayo.
Oh, wow. Well, I feel your pain, first of all, and I must acknowledge it. However, what I believe, what I would do in that kind of situation is that I will still continue to communicate my value. I'm going to get to how. The reason is because you don't want to change for people because your career doesn't end there. You know what I mean? So there's that thing about when you consistently do something over and over again, it becomes part of you. You don't want to change for the worst. Like stop communicating about it, because when you get to another environment where you can blossom, you will have left behind all the skills, and because this thing is a muscle. Once you started, you are on a roll, especially when you get affirmations from people around you. At least this is what works for me. Like I start something and like people are saying, Tayo, I love how you, it's like they're boosting my ego. I just want to do more. Imagine I now get to a space where it's not appreciated and I stop it. How am I going to kickstart this thing that I started that is so hard to start? So first of all, the person that asked the question, please don't stop. If you have been communicating your value before, do not stop. However, in terms of how, I believe that what you continue to use what was working for you. So, for example, even though there's no prospect for growth or the upward mobility in that team, if it's just a team, not in the organization, you don't know who is watching. You don't know, stand out. I always say the best way to excel in that kind of environment is be the outlier for the best, not for the worst. Just be the outlier because you never would tell who is watching because you said is in the context of a team, not an organization. So there could be other opportunities within the organization. So that's where people say people talk about people and they talk about how they are lucky, but it's no luck. It's just you being prepared and seeing opportunities. Opportunities plus preparation is luck to people that don't see the paths that you were grinding. So I would say that don't stop. Keep doing what you were doing when you were communicating your value, whatever, because you can never tell who and if you are so good at it, these are people that don't even know how to communicate their value. They could even learn a thing or two, a million from you. You're going to add value to that, which is part of this value we're talking about. So when you leave that space, you talk about how you added value to them by helping them, effectively communicate their value. So I just believe like the whole thing about communicating your, because honestly, I know for me, it was a gradual thing. And if I get to if I get into a space right now that is not appreciated, I'm not going to stop. It's up to them to catch up. And once I feel like I is uncomfortable for me, I'm not feeling the space, is not helping me grow, that is the time to pick up my bag and baggages and look for a place that will appreciate me.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyra. And to add to what you just said, so pretty much the later hand, what I'd say to this person is document stuff. Documentation is big so that in the event that you're looking for something outside of that organization, you're not now just starting to think of all of the value that you've added to that team. You already have that documentation. Now you can brag about it to the next organization if need be. So
You just triggered something that I was saving for later, but my body's shaking. I can't even wait. So the first year that I got to Canada, that pandemic year, I became a nuisance, joining webinars, because we're in the house anyway, we're not doing anything. And I was just looking for a solution to this, my pandemic sitting at home problem. So I joined this call. I can't remember what call, but I do remember the speaker. She's very prominent on LinkedIn. I met her last year and I told her she couldn't even remember what she said, but it's like what you say, you don't know what you're saying.
You don't know.
She's a recruiter in the RBC, tech recruiter. She's very prominent on LinkedIn. And she said that keep a bragging book, aka accomplishment journal so you can have a book, physical book, or create a Word document on your computer. And what that is the most little accomplishments that you achieve in the organization, you better document it. And I run with it because when you get to conversations, when you need those accomplishments, you are not going to remember. That's the reality. You won't remember. You only remember the big stuff. But everything matters. If you work in an organization where you are being appraised by not only the quality of your work, but your relationship and association with people, and even the little things, you volunteering and what you've done. If I volunteer in a food bank, it's social for me because I love volunteering. So I would just dress up and go. But if I don't put it down, at the end of the day, they might say, Tayo, you did everything awesome, but we don't see your volunteer work. And I'll start cracking my head. It was the day I went for a food court. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Accomplishment journal, bragging book, anything you call it. If it's younger, the other my friend, an influencer on Instagram, Rennie, calls it ta-da list. Ta-da list. So whenever you think you've done something, I say, whoa, was that me? Put it down. So call it anything, but it's everything you have accomplished. Just put it down, because when you need to use it, you are going to be scratching your head, and you don't need that. You want to be able to communicate all the value. Yeah, we're going back to the topic. Communicate all the value that you've added to the space you are without missing a bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't hold myself. I had to say it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bragging book, if you want to touchen it up, accomplishment journal, come on,
List.
pen to paper. Let's start to write things or type things if you're, the Microsoft Word or Apple people, that kind of stuff. So now we're going to get into our next question. Oh, thank you, Tyra. Thank you, Tyra. Thank you, Tyra. Okay. Now, as a leader, right? I know you're in agile practice. But as a leader in general, across board, beyond your career and stuff, what strategies would you recommend in ensuring that each team member's voice is heard? Especially like doing collaborative discussions, especially when you have diverse teams. How do you make sure that no one is being left out? We're not leaving anyone behind as a leader.
Yeah, that's a good question, because we have different temperaments. And being a leader, you also have to, I always pride myself as I practice inclusive leadership, where it's formed by empathy. People are different. I can't expect everybody to be like me. Gosh, I tell everyone I'm such a talkative, but then not everybody. That's why the world we live in is so colorful, because we have been created differently. So what I do in my space, because I've recognized that this is me, all these questions I'm living them all. And so what I do is first of all, you have to create a psychologically safe environment. This is not professional jargon. I know it's everywhere. Like those of us in Agile, they say, oh, psychologically safe environment. Truthfully, it is so critical. This is an environment where people trust you. People know that what they say to you, you're not going to use it against them. And personally, as a leader, what I realized works, because I've been moving around in teams in my organization. So because in the agile practice, your goal is to support your team to the point where they don't need you. So sometimes they dump us and we move to another. And so it happens time and time again. And so we get to a new team that was already formed before you join them. And then you're like, gosh, how am I going to break into this team? You have to, what works for me is sometimes being vulnerable. Share a bit about yourself. Like, let them know that you're human. You're not just a agile robot. So share a bit about yourself as much as you can share. Be vulnerable. I've seen leaders share some very, very, because when you share those things, it resonates with other people. It shows that you're human, It shows you're an immigrant. You have 2 kids. Oh, guys, my daughter graduated last year. Oh, my daughter graduated too. Those kind of things. Let them break their barrier. Let them break all the barriers that are there can be broken by you being yourself. Don't come there and be a leader. It doesn't help anybody. Create a psychological safe space where people trust. So for some of us, like when we have ceremonies like retrospective or lesson learned, they share people. It might be hard to allow people, it might be hard to share as a team member, but imagine if I share time and time again and there are no action plans on what I share. So what's the point? I'll keep quiet now. I'll keep quiet. So that's where trust, psychological safety comes into play, because you want them to trust you that what they tell you, you don't use against them, and the challenges you will work on improving. So you work on improving it. You're actually working for them, because that's what servant leadership, and that's what leadership should be all about. So that is very critical, to allowing everybody to. Another thing that works for me is not because I'm technology, but I always go back to use of technology. So there's so many tools now that we can use, and some of them are free, wheels of, so now you have all of us, Femi, Banker, you one day, and people's videos are not on, and I want them to speak. We'll spin the wheel, we have everybody's name there, and this is not me being biased, but it stops at Oluwatosin. So the question is on you, Tosin. What's your question? And she has no choice but to talk, even if that's all we hear from her in this conversation. So use technology, use, those kind of things. There's so many of them. I'm just using that as an example, but there's so many tools that we can find online that we can use to bring people out of their shell. Another thing that I use that works for me, which I know is so interesting because literally I joined a new team recently, and the old team that I was on, we all of us are distributed. So we have people from all of us. So we mostly work virtually. And so honestly, I don't know how it happened, but I got them to the point where there can never be a call like this. Everybody's on video. We know their dogs, we know their cats, and we got to the point where the person that joined them after came and didn't turn on his video. Like, no, we turn on videos here, which is not normal, you know. So fast forward to me joining my new team, and no one turns on their camera. And I tried everything. I have danced, I have done this, but I'm not going to stop turning my video on because I don't want to change for them. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be myself because I worked so hard to get here. Imagine leaving them tomorrow and I go back to the bad habit of not being engaged. Because when you turn on your video, it's not just to show your fine face, it's to show that you are engaged. It's to also encourage engagement because we've established that communication is not just verbally. Body language. Because if I come here and say I am engaged, am I engaged? No, but I am engaged and I'm engaged. So the remote work or the virtual work that I found ourselves with distributed teams everywhere, we want to be sure that we don't want to be those people that don't turn on their videos. What's the worst that can happen? Be that person that when people see you in the office once in a while, you are all dolled up. So that when you are in your hoodie, I have my hoodie, they understand that you're working in your basement. No one expects you to be dolled up 24/7 all the time. Come on, this is Canada, not Nigeria. So just come as you are, but be engaged because we don't know what you're doing. You might be distracted. You might be on Instagram. You might be anywhere. Also, one thing that I do in my team, everything is, I'm leaving all of it, is recognition. So I'm very, very lucky to be working in an organization where appreciation is so appreciated. Oh my, I didn't even think appreciation is so appreciated. So not to the individuals, but the organization actually encourages it. So we have this platform called TD Appreciate, where you can even give people points for whatever they did to you, give them a card. And at the end of the day, those points actually translate to money. So I know we had employee appreciation week. I had so much points that I converted to an Amazon $85 card, and I bought a pair of jeans on Amazon. I said to myself, I wanted to buy that pair of jeans so that I remember that H1 or 2024, all the awesomeness is from these jeans remind me.
Sweet.
So if you're in that kind of, and if you're not, you be that person that does it, send a note. It doesn't have to be monetary. Literally, this is Canada. People are not worshiping money. So send messages to people when they do things to you or for you, and just tell them how grateful you are. It actually boosts people's morale. I don't know about you guys. It does boost people's morale. They want to do more because they don't know what dimension you take the next time when they do that little thing for you. So they want to be appreciated. I don't know anyone in this world that doesn't want to be happy and appreciated. So those are like little things that I do right now that is working for me. So I hope it helps.
Thank you. People, let's learn to appreciate people. That's the summary of that question. Appreciate people. Let them know that you see them. Let them know that the environment that you've created for them is safe. And as much as we all try, and that's like same as me, we all try to keep our personal life separate from our work life. There are still little bits about ourselves outside of work that we can literally share at work that would also help build that trust. So be that person. Okay, as we are beginning to round up, we get into the last question. If you have any questions, please get on Slido so that we can ask them. Finally, we're getting to the hard. I feel like this is the hardest question today, is that conflicts are inevitable. We're all humans. We have different cultures, different backgrounds. Even people that are born in the same culture were raised in different homes. And it's just a very interesting conversation when it comes to conflicts. Now, given your background, you've literally been in 4 industries. So you're used to working on multidisciplinary teams, so where people would say different things, mean different things. And then to now compound it, they are now like different cultures. And everybody's coming together to meet a common goal, which is the success of whatever project, whatever product is being built, whatever that is. Now, in the past, this one actually feels like an interview question now that I'm thinking about it. So in the event that you have an interview coming up, you might want to listen deeply to the answer to this question. How have you successfully managed conflicts within teams that you've been on in the past, while also maintaining effective communication throughout that process? And then, based off of your experience, is there anything that you would advise against when it comes to managing conflicts on teams?
Okay, I do like this question. It might seem difficult, but this is life. Conflict is everywhere.
Yeah.
Conflict is everywhere. But honestly, my view of conflict is different. I instead of thinking of it as being very, very difficult, I actually think it's a good thing. Wait, hear me out.
Like, I want to hear this so
yeah,
well.
because here's the thing, conflict only arises if people are passionate. So there has to be something that we're passionate. So even if in our family, we have family problem, maybe because we want to care for our parents, it's because we love those parents. You know what I mean? In the work environment, there's conflict. It's because we are all chasing the common goal. We want to deliver. So even when you don't see conflict in teams, you should worry. Maybe they have second jobs or they are not even into the job. Honestly, because if you're really, really passionate about you watch this calling, once in a while your ideas will conflict with the next person's idea, and that's where you will now come in, hear both sides, and come to a common ground. So conflict is good. You see why I say conflict is good? So I embrace conflict. It makes me happy. That means people are here and engaged and they're passionate about the same thing and they want us to deliver excellently well. So yeah, so that's my take on conflict. So conflict is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So if you hear that in the interview, quickly, spin it around and see how awesome conflict is. It shows that you're passionate about something. So what do we do when there's conflict? It's important that we address it very early. That's why you have to be able to communicate effectively. So we're not going to be wishing it away. That's some problem that I've seen in some conflicts. There's a conflict and you just pray that one day you sleep and wake up and it goes away. It doesn't work that way. Excuse me. It doesn't work that way. You cannot wish conflict away. You have to be able to effectively communicate. And that can only happen if the environment is safe for people to speak. Everybody thinks, because now everybody has a voice in the team. So if people think that their voice is smaller than the next person's voice, it's already a problem. You have not created, as a leader, you haven't created an inclusive environment. You haven't created a psychological safe environment. Maybe you've used things against them in the past and they're like, I better shut up. It's not my business. Like, they will just keep quiet and you don't want that. So you have to address it early, provided you have a safe environment where people can say their mind. Because as I said, if you have that conflict and people's views are brought to the center of the table, we can then objectively listen. People that are not in that conflict and part of the team will listen, and then we agree on a common ground to move forward. That's what I think anyway. That's what has worked for me. So I'm very open to conflict. I don't mind conflict. It shows that people are here. They're not there. They're not here and there. They're 100% here. And so once I see that, it gives me so much joy. And I must, as a person, I don't let it linger. I just address it here and there. And that's where sometimes, as a leader, one of the greatest tasks that you can do for yourself is, one, being self-aware and knowing your own strengths. And because sometimes you might not even be able to facilitate, you personally might not be objective enough to facilitate this conversation. And if you know that, by knowing yourself, you go and bring someone to be the mediator. Also, Another attribute that you need to learn is being able to give feedback. And we're not talking sandwich or like, oh, Tayo, this was great. However, then you know, but it was still great. No, we're talking about feedback that you say, in this situation, Tayo, you should give feedback that people can run with. So if you're able to talk to people in the team, if you're not, get someone from outside to facilitate this conversation, because if you address a conflict early in it, you can nip it in the bud and come to a resolution as soon as possible. What you don't want as a leader is taking sides. You know what I mean? That's already bad. That means people won't even trust you. If you have built a psychological safe environment, proud of that, you literally you put a knife in it. You've killed it, because they won't trust you again. They think that especially if for some reason the person that you are on their side is of your color. We are living in this diverse space called Canada, and then the person is of your color, of your sex or something, you're biased, which is okay. We all have biases, but not in a conflict situation, because if the whole idea of the conflict is because we are all passionate about the goal. So now you're taking sides. Why? Why are you taking sides? So you as a leader, you have to ensure you're not taking sides, because that kills everything. You have to ensure that you are emotionally equipped. That's why I said that self-awareness, having a high EQ, it's not about emotional intelligence is really critical, because even when you're addressing it, you don't want to be addressing it, but no, you want to be able to effectively communicate. I keep going back. You want to be able to communicate what you're communicating without saying, yeah, but no. You want to have that high EQ that you know where to touch on from those parties, from each parties. That's the only way you can find a common ground, because people's egos will be, because everyone thinks their solution is the best.
The best, sure.
And then you are coming as a leader, neutral body, to say, wow, your solutions are great. Let's come to a common ground. But if you're all emotional about it, you can't even communicate. That's already a problem. They won't trust you. People will start looking at how to post out of your team if it's a big organization. So I think basically those are the points that I've used and is working. So I don't know if anybody has any addition, but yeah, I think those work. So just address it on time, communicate, don't take sides. Yeah, that's in summary. You are the listener. Maybe you can summarize.
Yeah, like I'm not sure I could have put it that concise. Like, I don't think I could have been that concise in answering that question. Conflict is a good thing. The earlier you nip it in the bud, the better for you. Do not take sides, but most importantly, be self-aware. It's a good thing to know what you can and cannot do. My boss at work knows straight up that there's some things that he would ask, and I'll be like, I need training on that. I don't know how to do that. This is what I can do, but I'm pretty sure if I get training, I'll be able to do what you're asking. And there is no crime in saying, I don't know how to do this. I need help to be able to do this. And I like that. Being like knowing when to involve somebody that is external to the situation to help you out. I love that. I really love that. Oh wow. Now the questions are coming. Oh my goodness. So we have 4 more minutes. So we will try. We might be able to carry over some questions. Just a heads up is that this is a once a month thing. So we promise we'll get to questions. Okay, so we have 2 more questions. One is, what are your thoughts on providing talking points to your manager before a scheduled check-in? Or do you think it's best to wait till when you're in the actual meeting?
You should always have an agenda. Remember, we said at the beginning that you are taking ownership of these calls. It's not pre-pandemic. Things have changed. It's not your manager scheduling the meeting. You are scheduling this meeting. So once you schedule a meeting, you take ownership of the meeting. So the agenda is on you. So if it's a weekly call, you should have something on your OneNote that will be giving you talking points. Because you can't assume the next person. You can only talk about yourself. I've had a coffee chat with someone, a leader before, who is energetic in big meetings that we all attend together, only for me to realize that he's an introvert when we had a one-on-one. Thankfully, I was prepared for that conversation. I went to research about him. I did my homework. I went on his LinkedIn. I went to a SharePoint, and then I gathered little tidbits about him that I put on my ChatGPT to help me create 5 points that will make me look smart. That's what I told ChatGPT. That was my prompt. And I had it because after we introduced ourselves, and the guy was looking at me like this. Thankfully, I had prepared for that conversation. So you should, when you book a call, if you schedule a call, take ownership. At least prepare to take ownership. Anything can happen when you get there, but prepare to take ownership to avoid awkwardness if the person doesn't drive the conversation.
I really, really like that. And I'll come back to my previous point. Documentation. Documentation is key in communicating your value in the present, but more importantly for the future. So document stuff, even in those meetings, document answers. Like we're in this call now, Tyra is spitting some major bars and she doesn't even know it. So now I have documentation that by the time I'm done and I put things together, I'm able to send to her to say like, these were the things that you said. And now she has that like, oh, really? I said that? That makes a lot of sense. And then she could flesh it out. So please document stuff. We're literally our time. There's a question around building trust on teams. So let's say you've trusted your leader. Of course, Yolanda, I'll be reaching out for those extra notes. Thank you. Thank you. If you build trust with your manager in the past or your leader or whatever, and you realize that something that you've said to them in the past was used against you, how do you deal with that? How do you move on from that? Any thoughts or?
Oh, wow, that's a difficult one. That
Yes.
is and it's on, honestly, whoever sent that, it's not on you, it's on that manager. That manager needs to learn to be a leader. Should never happen. But then, and we always know that human beings could always be human. And every day we go out there to strive to be better. You know, I hope he does strive to be better. But honestly, like I've always said, don't stop trusting because of one experience, because you're not going to be tied to that leader forever. And if you stop the act of trusting because of one bad egg, it's so hard for you to start again. That's what I don't know about you guys. It's just like starting the gym, and because you haven't lost any weight, you stop. You're going to start again, and you have body aches. You keep starting. Oh my goodness! I'd rather keep going and not lose the weight. And one day. So that's what and the same thing applies to things that we give into. If you give into some very, very great attribute or any skill, don't stop. And it's not on you. Don't feel bad. It's on them. So what that experience will teach you is that you know how to dish out. You're not going to give it all. You know how to dish out to that manager, and hopefully you get yourself out of that situation. Hopefully. But don't stop trusting because of one bad egg, because it will be so hard for you to start again.
Yeah. And then I would also say that sometimes people don't know that they've even hurt you. So if you are able to, which is something that is a position or it's a situation that I've been in the past, and I sat down and had a conversation with this person. And it was a conversation that initially the leader kind of like brushed off and said, oh, I did not mean it the way you're interpreting it. But as God would have it, he went, and then like 2 days later, he came back. He said, Abisola, you know what? In retrospect, I shouldn't have hacked her like that. This was pretty much my first role in Canada. That leader is still a reference for me till date. Like if I ever need a job reference, I can call him out of the blue and he would send a reference, right? So sometimes it's okay to sit people down and have conversations to say that you did this and I honestly do not appreciate it. You might not have seen it as a big deal, but for me, it was artful, right? Maybe not use the word artful, but for me, it didn't. You would find the right corporate language to use. But sometimes communication, as we're learning, communication is key in this. Thank you so much, Tyre. Thank you to all of you guys making our time on this beautiful, beautiful day to join us for 1 hour to learn about communicating your value especially in team settings. We hope to see you next month. We will send a recording for this event, hopefully before the end of the weekend. And yeah, once again, thank you. Thank you, Tayo. We're grateful. Thank you so much. We will talk soon. I've enjoyed the rest of your
Bye,
weekend,
you too.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.